Welcome to the Astrology Show with your host, Kelly Fox. Each week, Kelly will give you access to the current transits that are a valuable tool which provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has through our sun sign. Understanding the current planetary influences each week can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. Sometimes, events in your life may seem completely random, but there is a pattern to the order of these events, one set in motion in part by you, and in part by the planets and stars in the sky and their influence on your life here on Earth. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, if you're going to get that promotion, move to a new city, or fall in love, tune in to the Astrology Show for guidance. It can help you anticipate problems before they occur, give you tools to cope with changes, and help you look forward to the wonderful days ahead. Kelly Fox is a professional astrologer and internet pioneer who launched astrology.com, one of the first and most successful astrology websites. Today, her passion lies with her new site, theastrologer.com, where she brings a modern-day approach to an ancient wisdom. Please join Kelly each week to learn more about how the planets can align for you.
Hi there, and welcome to the Astrology Show. I'm your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox. How did you enjoy the equinox last week? Last Friday, the 22nd of September, in the Northern Hemisphere, we celebrated the autumn equinox. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you would have celebrated the spring equinox. And that's a big deal in astrology. And according to astrologers, the equinox, the two equinoxes, equinoxi, are the cornerstones, along with the solstices. I'm just playing with you. It's they're the cornerstones of astrology. So they are a big deal according to astrologers. So we officially in the Northern Hemisphere are in the fall season. So you might notice the leaves falling from the trees. The funny thing is I noticed one of my very special trees in my garden is just starting to, the leaves are starting to bud. So that's quite curious. Okay, I am originally from the Southern Hemisphere and it is technically spring now in the Southern Hemisphere, and I don't think my tree knows that. So anyway, I'm just wondering why we've got some topsy-turvy things going on here, and it's a lovely day, lovely weather, but of course the equinox represents the days and nights are of equal length. So summer is behind us and winter is ahead of us. So the equinox is the halfway point between the summer and the winter. And then we have another halfway point, and that will be Halloween, which happens on October 31st. And that is the midpoint of the equinox and the solstice. So it's also representative of other things, but from an astrological point of view, it's the midpoint between seasons. And the astrology that I talk to you about each week is all based from or off the seasons. So the seasons are very, very important for Western astrologers. That's why I'm always talking about them when they occur. The solstice, the equinox, the halfway points or the midpoints are very, very significant. So we've just celebrated the autumn equinox here in the Northern Hemisphere. The next celebration we'll be having will be Halloween, which is the halfway point between the equinox and the solstice. So there's a lot of these markers and milestones throughout the year. And of course, there's the four big ones, solstice and equinox, and then you have the secondary, which are the midpoints between those. This week, we have a fairly quiet week. It's sort of, I keep looking at my calendar thinking there really has to be more going on, considering that we've just come out of eclipse season. But I think we're getting a bit of a reprieve, although famous last words, hopefully not. And when I look at my calendar, what it's telling me is the big news of the week is communications planet Mercury is moving into Libra on Friday, where it will be until October 17th. Also this week we have Pluto, which astrologers still consider a planet. In the astrological world, Pluto did not get demoted to a whatever it got demoted to, a subplanet or a dwarf planet. Okay, it's pretty small. Yeah, admittedly, Pluto is a very small planet, but it's the most powerful planet according to astrologers. So there was a lot of fear amongst astrologers when Pluto got demoted, thinking there would be a backlash because Pluto is lord of the underworld, and that is somebody you don't want to mess with, demotion or no demotion. So let's just get clear here that Pluto is still considered a planet, and Pluto on Thursday will be turning direct. And I will talk more about that later on in the show. And I'm just looking here. There has to be something, surely, not just Mercury moving into Libra and Pluto turning direct. I'm also seeing on Wednesday, Jupiter is opposing Uranus. That's big news, I would say, Pluto opposing Uranus. That would occur probably once every 6 years. No, maybe my math is wrong. I need to rethink that. But it doesn't happen very often. So Pluto opposing Uranus does not happen very often. And I will also talk about that later on in the show. And really, there's really not much else. So enjoy the change of season. Enjoy the reprieve the planets are giving us at the moment. Next week we have a full moon. Also, we've got Venus-Mars conjunct next week, which I'll talk a lot more about next week. But really, and then of course the following week is what I'm really looking forward to, when on October 10th, when Jupiter moves into Scorpio, where it will be for the next year. Now that's going to be really interesting, particularly for the water signs, and that is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, because that means that it will be time to broaden your horizons. But I'm going to save all of that for the show in 2 weeks' time, and I will dedicate that show to Jupiter moving into Scorpio, which is big news. So back to this week. Oh, before I move on, be sure to get your daily, weekly, and monthly horoscope from the OMTimes website, and horoscopes are by yours truly. And so it's the OMTimes website where you can get your daily, weekly, and monthly horoscope, so you can keep updated at all times through your horoscope. And another tip, each week I talk about the planets and where they are and what they're doing. And the best way to keep up with that is to follow along through your chart wheel or through your natal chart. And if you haven't had your natal chart done, you can get one for free on my website. Just go to theastrologer.com/chartwheel. There you will enter your date of birth, and I will give you back in return a list of the planets and the positions they were in at the time of your birth. And you can follow along really well each time to see how you're being affected. And usually I make a reference to, for example, I'm just about to talk about Mercury moving into Libra on Friday, where it will be until October 17th. And so then you can sort of follow along and see how that is affecting your sun sign or your other planets in other signs. So, Mercury moving into Libra. Mercury is the planet that is the closest to the sun. And Mercury in mythology was messenger of the gods, because Mercury was the closest planet to the sun. So hence, Mercury is all about communication. It's all about not only how we communicate or how we verbalize something, but how we think, how our mind works. How our mind works, how we articulate, how we think. So if you have your Mercury in, say, an earth sign, earth signs are not about communicating. They're more about being practical, grounded, and connected to the earth. So then you've got a bit of a mismatch going on there with Mercury, which is all, I want to say airy-fairy, but that's not really the right term. Mercury is all about the mind and fast-moving things. It's all about, I think it's Mercury a bit like a social butterfly. It's like it's flittering around. Thoughts are moving really, really fast. And Mercury will describe all different kinds of communicators in this world. You know, think of the strong, silent type who speak only when they feel it's absolutely necessary. Then you've got the chatty, witty types who could carry on a conversation with just about anyone. So all these different types of people and the way they think and how they approach things. And on that note, we're going to take a short break, so stay tuned.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Aloha, my name is Jennifer O'Neill, and I'd like to invite you to come join me every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time for my show, Spirit Chat. Spirit Chat focuses on simplifying the process of using the spiritual tools and gifts you were born with in a way that fits into your everyday life. I also teach different techniques that will help you learn how to navigate the spirit realm and empower you on your own spiritual journey. So join me this Wednesday as I guide you through the spirit world.
Hi, this is John Ondrasik of Five for Fighting, here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. You know, style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody's business. So please, plan ahead, designate before you celebrate. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hi there, welcome back to the Astrology Show. I'm your host and astrologer Kelly Fox, talking about the planets, or the planetary activity, I should say, the planetary activity for this week. And the headline of the week, or the headlines of the week, Mercury is moving into Libra on Friday, where it will be until October 17th. And also on Thursday, on Thursday the 28th, Pluto turns direct. Now, that's not really huge news because the outer planets are typically retrograde for about 40% of the time. So it's not really big news unless, of course, the retrograde at, which is 17 degrees Capricorn, if you have any planet in your natal chart that is at 17 degrees Capricorn, this is big news for you. This represents a turning point because Pluto is all about change and transformation. But I'm getting ahead of myself because I want to talk about Mercury moving into Libra first. So just before the break, I was just saying that Mercury represents communication and how we communicate and the different types of communicators in this world, from the strong silent types to the chatty, witty types who could carry on a conversation with just about anybody. Mercury is the ruler, as we say in astrology, the ruler of communication and how people articulate. Thought processes, our logic, or for some of us, the lack thereof. Our intellectual ideas and the way we get those ideas out into the world. And of course, you may have heard of Mercury retrograde, which I talk about a lot. And I'm just surprised by how many people know about Mercury retrograde. It's actually can be quite amusing sometimes because Mercury retrograde does get the blame for most things that go haywire, most communication snafus, just misunderstandings generally. So many people say to me all throughout the years, oh, is it Mercury retrograde because, this and that happened. So what Mercury retrograde means is that the planet Mercury appears to be traveling backwards in its path around the Sun. But technically, the planets don't travel backwards, they just slow down. And from our perspective here on Earth, they look like they are indeed traveling backwards. So Mercury retrograde occurs about three times a year for about 3 weeks each time. And then, of course, on top of that, the shadow of the Mercury retrograde period. It's sort of like never-ending. Mercury retrograde is never-ending. And again, it would depend on the point at which Mercury turns retrograde and travels backwards. Does it affect or does it touch any of your natal planets? And that's when you know that if that's going to happen, then a particularly Mercury retrograde or any sort of transit, which means movement of the planet and its effect. So any sort of transit will have an effect on you. If it's touching any one of your planets by the exact degree, look out if it is particularly a Mercury retrograde. And during this time, and of course we're not in a Mercury retrograde now, the next one I believe is December 2nd through the 22nd. I'm just confirming that. Yep. The next Mercury retrograde is December 2nd through the 22nd, and it will be retrograde in Sagittarius. And I'm jumping way ahead of myself here, but let me just say, for all you Sagittarians out there, try not to keep your foot in your mouth for too long during December. So I will save all of that for the show just before the week of the retrograde. So you have to tune in there. So anyway, back to this week. Mercury is a planet of communication, and I was about to say that it's turning retrograde, and it is not. And it's about to move into Libra, and it likes Libra. I know I say this a lot, but the planets have their favourite signs and their least favourite signs. And Mercury doesn't mind Libra. Isn't that sweet? Mercury does not mind Libra at all because Libra is an air sign. Let's take a step back. Mercury doesn't mind Libra because Libra is a cousin, or maybe a sibling. Maybe that might be the better way to say it. With Gemini. And so Mercury rules the signs of Gemini and Virgo. And Gemini is an air sign, and Libra is an air sign along with Aquarius. So Mercury is it rules Gemini, and Mercury in Aquarius, it's exalted. So Libra, it's pretty up there with being a favourite of Mercury. Does that make sense? Okay, I hope so. Anyway, so Mercury in Libra. So Libra is, and we're actually in the season of Libra now, and if you tuned into last week's show, I talked all about Libra. I dedicated last week's show to Libra, and if you missed that show, be sure to go to the OMTimes archive and have a listen. If you're a Libra or you're fortunate enough to have a Libra in your life, it's definitely a show not to be missed. So be sure to tune into that. So we are in the season of Libra, and thankfully, because let me just change the subject for 2 seconds here. Last week we had this. I'm trying to think of a word for it. But basically, we had the 5 inner planets in Virgo: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, all in Virgo, and that was between the 19th. I think it was only for like 2 a day maximum, but then we had 4 planets in Virgo last week. So now we do have a definite reprieve. Things are not as critical, or we're not trying to seek something like perfection that might not exist. We're not being nitpicking. The small details, we've got a little bit of a reprieve going on now that the Sun's in Libra, and of course Mercury moving into Libra. So we're sort of leaving behind that Virgo influence. Now there's nothing wrong with Virgo or any other sign. It's just that sometimes when there's too much of something, it becomes too much. So too much Virgo, some of us might have felt a bit like not good enough, a bit hard on ourselves. Now with Libra, everything's good. Libra is all about loving everybody, including ourselves. So that's good news. And, with Mercury moving into Libra on Friday, this will be all about balance. So if you put these keywords together, so Mercury is all about communication, and Libra is about balance and harmony and making sure that everybody's getting along. So after last week of intense scrutiny and nitpicking and making sure everything's just right, we can all sort of sit back a little bit and put our feet up because there won't be any injustices anymore with all the influences moving into Libra. But I do have to say that Venus and Mars are still in Virgo. So when it comes to relationships, because relationships are about Venus and Mars, Venus is love and Mars is passion, we still have the planets in Virgo. So it's not all sweetness and light. There still is a little bit of we've got to toe the line a little bit. So Mercury in Libra, Libra is a cardinal air sign. It's ruled by Venus. So this is really great. It's a great influence to talking about relationships and anything to do with relationships, anything that you might have been sweeping under the rug in your relationship to avoid an argument or bickering or whatever else. Now is the time that maybe we can approach our significant other and with a little bit of honey, really say what's in our mind and actually be taken the way that let me say that again. Maybe our words will be taken in a way that we had intended rather than misconstrued or misunderstood. And, in fairness, as I said, Mercury rules Virgo. So currently Mercury still is in Virgo until Friday. So it's not all doom and gloom when it comes to talking to your significant other about your wants and needs or whatever it is. It's just now when Mercury moves into Libra, it can be done with a touch of sweetness and light instead of feeling criticised, I suppose. Virgo is very good with detail, whereas Libra, likes to keep the peace and find the balance. So while Mercury is in Libra from Friday the 29th through October 17th, many of us might find ourselves like seeking both sides of any situation. So this is good news because it's like you can see the other person's point of view. And even like before making any sort of decision or committing to any course of action, we'll want to weigh the options very carefully and even objectively. So it's sort of like if you can allow time, give yourself time to make a decision, that's even better. And having all the information before making any choices, this is what Mercury in Libra is all about. And, you know, what's important here is that we'll want to be fair with everybody involved. So we're sort of like during this time with Mercury in Libra, we're looking for win-win outcomes. So it's not just all one-sided, but it's very much everybody wins. So if you're signing a contract at this time, and this is a very, very good time to sign a contract when Mercury is in Libra, because Libra is also the sign of law and legalities. And actually the symbol for Libra is the scales of justice. So this is a really great time for dealing with any sort of legality and striving for justice. And you know, many of us will have this ability to see from different angles and different points of view. This is why mediation falls under the sign of Libra, because it's all about being fair and just. The issue, though, with Mercury in Libra is indecision. So indecision could be a problem for many of us. Anyway, stay tuned. We're going to take a short break, and I will continue with the planets this week.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Join Vibe Nation radio host, international psychic medium Carrie Turcotte, as she guides her listeners to rediscover themselves by accessing the keys of knowledge that already exist within. Each week's show is divinely orchestrated to intertwine with the universal energies, allowing the listeners to go deeper within. At the end of each show, Carrie will tap into the energies of the listeners and give a message from Spirit about the upcoming week. If you really want to get to know who you truly are, join Carrie each Monday at 3 p.m. on Vibe Nation Radio.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat?
Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi there, welcome back to the Astrology Show. I'm your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, talking about the planets this week. And as I was saying, we have pretty much a reprieve this week. It seems a bit ho-hum, a bit humdrum, a bit sort of boring. I don't know, I'm sort of hesitant to say that because there's always something. And of course, you know, the planets, it depends on how the planets are affecting your natal chart. Each week when I talk about the planets, I'm talking about what's going on and to know how it really affects you beyond your sun sign, because I do talk a lot about how each of these planetary influences will affect a sun sign. But there are all the other planets in all the other signs at the time you were born. And so be sure to get a free chart wheel or a free natal chart from my website so you can see how the planets each week are affecting you personally and not just your sun sign. And that web address to get the free chart wheel is theastrologer.com/chart wheel. And all you have to do is enter your date of birth, and then the website will generate a chart wheel back for you. So each week you can really follow along with the planets. So, for example, before the break, I was just talking about Mercury in Libra, and so an easy example of that is, well, if you're a Libra, sun in Libra at the time you were born, then I know, and you will know when you're looking at a chart wheel, that Mercury will be coming up right next to the Sun in Libra, and we call that a conjunction. So Mercury will be conjuncting your Sun in Libra, and so that will mean that communication is heightened, not just what I'm talking about now, but like really turbocharged. For example, if you're a Cancer Sun, then communication might be a bit of a challenge for you when Mercury is in Libra, and so on. So that's the best way to follow along. But of course, always the first stop is sun signs, and so that's a great place to start. But there's definitely more planets than that. So, and yes, of course, the sun is technically not a planet; it's a star, and the moon is technically not a planet; it's a satellite. But for the sake of ease, because there are a lot of exceptions to the rule in astrology, we classify the sun and moon as planets. But yes, we really do know they're not technically planets. So back to Mercury in Libra. Mercury is a planet of communication, and it's moving into Libra, a sign it actually quite likes, on Friday. And it's going to be in Libra until October 17th. So this is great news for the air signs. And the air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. A little bit more difficult for the cardinal signs. And the cardinal signs, besides Libra, which I said would be okay, the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, and Capricorn. So there might be a little bit of friction with communication at this time that Mercury is going to be in Libra. So back to Mercury in Libra, and what does it mean? Well, it's all about diplomacy. That's really a really big keyword for Libra, but particularly when Mercury is in Libra, it's like our words will just flow out of this easily and effortlessly. And again, this is an overview, and it will be dependent on where this sits in your chart. But Mercury in Libra, anybody that was born with Mercury in Libra typically make excellent communicators. Words flow easily and effortlessly. Great social hosts. Just know the right thing to say, usually in most cases. So when Mercury is in Libra, it's great for diplomacy and negotiating. And as I said, it's a wonderful time to sign a contract. If you are going to be signing a contract, or there's a contract, if you can time it, so you can sign it when Mercury is in Libra between September 29th and October 17th, then that is what we call auspicious timing. And so it's another thing about Mercury in Libra, most of us will do really well in social situations. And I'm talking, well, I guess online, but I was primarily thinking offline social situations. But hey, social is social. So it's a great time for connecting with other people, because many of us will have grace and charm. And if you're in sales, when Mercury is in Libra, you could be quite persuasive at this time. People are listening, and many of us are able to communicate in a way that others can hear. And again, negotiating contracts and closing deals is a really great use of this planetary energy. Also, people, it's also a good time to bring people to a consensus, so everybody agrees with what's going on. Another good use of this energy Taurus will be attached to keeping the peace and playing nice and looking for compromise and our own, not putting our own needs first. And, you know, on the other side, some of us just might like to argue for the sake of debating. But in a nice way. It's not like full-on attack argument. It's very much about sort of playing around a bit, you know, like seeing all sides of something and being able to switch if need be. So how does Mercury in Libra affect your sign? Well, if you're in Aries, this is a time to focus and have that conversation with your, not just romantic partner, but maybe even your business partner. Have a conversation. Words will flow and everything's, you know, typically harmonious. If you're a Taurus, this would be a time to talk about your health, your diet, fitness, daily routines, employees, if you have any. It's a good time to get the message across in a really nice way. If you're a Gemini, it's all about romance and courtship and amusements and pleasure and creativity. If you're a Cancer, communication and discussions around home and family. If you're a Leo, this is a double dose of communication for you, and a good time to reach out to siblings and neighbours. If you're a Virgo, the time for spending and saving money and looking at your possessions. If you're a Libra, all eyes will be on you, but they usually are anyway. But all eyes will be on you, and this is really good. It's a good time to be like the hostess with the mostess. Make sure you're out there socializing. And I know this is the month of your birthday, and so make sure you celebrate your birthday. If you're a Scorpio, tune into your subconscious mind. Very much listen to any sort of gut instincts or any sort of your psychic abilities will be operating on high at the moment. If you're a Sagittarius, this is a time for groups and associations and friends and acquaintances, lots of social activity. If you're a Capricorn, the focus for you when Mercury is in Libra is career, status, achievements. If you're an Aquarian, this is about anything to do with overseas or foreign travel, publishing, or even higher education. And finally, if you're a Pisces, this is about shared resources and money and taxes and inheritance and insurance. So there you have it, Mercury in Libra, September 29th through October 17th. Next up, we have on Thursday, Pluto turning direct in Capricorn at 17 degrees. Well, there you have it. As I said before, when the outer planets change direction, and in this case, Pluto is turning direct from being retrograde, it's not really huge news, but it is if it's on one of your own planets. And what I mean by that is if you have a planet, any planet at 17 degrees Capricorn, then this will be affecting you more so because the planets change direction. They're retrograde about 40% of the time, so it's really not big news. But it is if you have a planet at 17 degrees, and particularly 17 degrees Capricorn. Now, Pluto is the most powerful planet of all. Pluto is what I call Lord of the Underworld. Yes, it's teensy tiny and it's way, way far away out in the galaxy. Out of the galaxy. But it is so powerful. It's a good thing it's really far away. We don't want it close to it at all. And if you have had a Pluto transit, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. Pluto is the planet of change and transformation. Although when I use those words for Pluto, doesn't even do it justice. It's sort of like, I feel like I'm downplaying the energy of Pluto when I say, oh, it's about change and transformation. Because to me, that sounds pretty good. But Pluto basically takes things away that when you least expect it. And it's not planet of surprises. It's basically the tighter you hold on to something, the harder the rug will be pulled out from under you. So the energy of Pluto is not just an overnight thing. It really, the outer planets, their effects take not even days, maybe not even weeks, but months and years typically. So then Pluto, as I said, is powerful. I think of things like mind control. I think of control, manipulation. Now I'm giving negative words because Pluto is not usually associated with anything light and fluffy. It's more about heavy and dark. And Pluto rules Scorpio, so if that helps understand something a bit better about the planet. Pluto is about secrets and affairs and behind-the-scenes manipulations. But really what it's about is power, like raw power. And, it's not all negative. It could be powerful energies, negative or positive. It's about sexuality. It's about death, destruction, regeneration, will, control, obsession. It's the things that make us uncomfortable. It's the things that we don't really like to talk about in polite company. And that's why I said hence it's known as Lord of the Underworld. And so I like the word obsession for Pluto because it's like we can't think about anything else except this one thing. And Pluto does that. It's sort of like the word desire comes up in my mind when I think of Pluto as well. And Pluto typically will stay in a sign anywhere between 12 and 28 years. It doesn't have a typical orbit. The shape of the orbit around the sun is not typical like the other planets. It's got this weird elliptical sort of orbit as it moves around the sun very slowly. And on that note, we're going to take a short break, so stay tuned.
Feed your soul with Waves of Consciousness on OMTimes Radio. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Tune in to The Practical Intuitive, Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World with me, host Robin Fritz, Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern. I'll cover personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice, and more, all to help you tap your own intuitive and healing skills. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Welcome back to The Dog Show. Up next, we have Satchmo. Satchmo is a member of the Shelter Pet Group.
That's right, a group known especially for their couch-snuggling, ball-chasing, face-licking, and, of course, companionship. Now, let's see him in action.
Look how he makes eye contact with his person.
That's actually known as the treat stare.
How intuitive, and now he appears to be excitedly turning in circles.
Ah, the happy dance so common with this group.
But really, the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Satchmo is to meet one.
Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Hi there. Welcome back to the Astrology Show. I'm your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, talking about the planets this week. The headlines of the week, Mercury moves into Libra, and just before the break I
20th, and it is now turning direct in Capricorn at 17 degrees. Now, as I say, typically the outer planets, it's not a big deal when they turn retrograde or turn direct. It's only a big deal if it's on one of your planets in your natal chart. Not just your sun sign, but really the planet, and not just the planet in the sign, but a specific degree. And this degree is 17 degrees Capricorn. And that's when it's like really significant, and you're really hanging off every word I say, because Pluto is all about change and transformation, and not that we, and it's like change and transformation that we don't willingly do. That's probably the nicest way I can say it. So Pluto, just a little bit of background, was discovered in 1930, and it takes 245 years to orbit the Sun, compared to the Moon, which takes 28 days, so 28 and a half days. So that just gives you a sense of the difference between the Moon and Pluto. It's just amazing how long and how long it takes to orbit the Sun, and how powerful this planet is. And yet, astrologers still consider it a planet. Now, Pluto is retrograde at 54% of the year, so it's not really a big deal, but I have to mention it. I have to respect Pluto. You know, Lord of the Underworld. It's like, I can't really let that one go by and not give it a bit of a mention. Now, Pluto has been in Capricorn, where it still is, since 2008. And so Pluto in Capricorn is all about changing of big business or government. So something like Big Brother, something is about change and transformation. Things are going to be done completely differently. So 2008, and I really don't want to get into politics on these shows at all. It's like in 2008, we had a change of the guard, and then and that will continue throughout the transit of Pluto through Capricorn, all the way through. I don't have my in front of me, but it's like 2020 something. Oh gosh. I always have my ephemeris on my neck, and then today I do not. But in other words, it's like a change of big business or big government. And it's not changes that we're willing to make, it's like changes that we're forced into. So if we don't learn the lessons, and again, collectively, because the outer planets are very much about the collective. So it's like we need to learn these. But really, we need to look at the bigger picture, not just the day-to-day when Pluto is in evolved. 2024, that was it. I know this was on the tip of my tongue, and I'm thinking, is it 2026 or 2024? Pluto is in Capricorn between 2008 and 2024. So it's all about power and big business and government and changes that we might not have anticipated. Now, let's have a look at the other planetary influences this week before I get to your weekly horoscope. On Sunday, the 24th, Mars was opposing Neptune. So that's really, it's a really interesting mix of energy. Some of us might have low energy, we might be feeling we missed some opportunities, we might have had some false expectations. We're not feeling ourselves under this influence. The energy is just so different. We might be hard to concentrate. We miss important directions. We're not sure what to do. Some of us might be stumbling around, which is unusual because Mars is currently in Virgo and Neptune's in Pisces. So usually Mars in Virgo is very on top of details and really knows what's what. But it's been sort of like rained down from Neptune in Pisces. We might, some of us with disease might feel angry. We lack an effective outlet for it. We might speak loudly, but our words could be hollow. slow and devoid of meaning. It's sort of like a passive-aggressive energy. And, boundaries are murky with its influence, with Mars opposing Neptune. And so it's sort of like we're finding some principles that we're sort of misdirected, I guess. Yeah, it could be some miscommunication or misunderstanding, but really it's a fleeting moment. It's not, this is, next week's show will definitely be over. And then today, Monday the 26th, we've got Mercury square Saturn. So again, more difficulty with communication. There might be mental blocks. It's challenging, Mercury square Saturn. Authority might be breathing down our neck. We might have said something out of place. People might be more skeptical, cynical. We might have limited perceptions. And others might have some mental rigidity. Could be a little bit of depression with Mercury square and Saturn. So it may be overcritical, hanging on to things, dogmatic, because Saturn is in Sagittarius, it's definitely dogmatic, narrow-minded, of course. Some of us might be feeling a bit inadequate when it comes to our own mental capacity or speaking abilities. It might be time to just difficult explaining things. Anyway, a little bit of frustration, nothing too major because it's Mercury. Mercury moves fast. It's only a couple of days and then the influence will pass. On Wednesday, that's right, we've got Jupiter opposing Uranus. Now, this is big news. Jupiter is in Libra opposing Uranus in Aries. It's a red transit and it indicates a build-up of tension and a sudden release. So definitely avoid discussions about religion and politics during this week. Yes, that's right. I said 6 years. I knew that was wrong. It occurs once every 14 years. And then, so such conversations this week are more likely to result in dispute than in any kind of increased understanding or compromise. Now, at the end of the week, when Mercury moves into Libra, that's good news because everybody's getting along. But this week, there's definitely a build-up of tension. Because with Jupiter opposing Uranus, our tendency is to defend our own position without considering any other opinions. So there's going to be a build-up for sure this week, but it will ease by the weekend. We'd rather be right than maybe learn something. We might not want to listen and we want to spout our own controversial ideas in front of others, opposing an authority perhaps because Jupiter opposite Uranus. It's sort of like a professor comes to visit. She has years of experience and we might want to stand up and challenge that experience. That's sort of the example of this influence. It's sort of like picking fights with the opposition and having people get riled up. There's an excess of that. This is not necessarily a good thing. It does allow room to change, but it's not so great. So just think before you speak, in other words, and don't be rebellious just for the sake of being rebellious or contrary or reactionary. Make sure things are grounded in reality and try to avoid extreme and outrageous behaviour. My words of wisdom. Friday we have Venus opposing Neptune. Some of us might be easily led astray. So running through the tulips, our head in the clouds, that type of thing, living in a daydream. Fantasizing about things that might not exist, or people. If you're single, you're going on a date. Somebody might not be as they appear to be. Our energy might be a little bit deflated at this time, so low energy. But really, it's a very short-lived transit. Now, moving on to your weekly horoscope, I'm going to rush through it and just give you some basics for the signs. But what I suggest you do, go to the OMTimes website and read your daily, weekly, and monthly horoscopes. But for this week, I will whiz through the signs. If you're an Aries, you've got to express your individuality. If you're a Taurus, might not be try not to be too attached to money. There are other alternatives and others, not alternatives, there are other aspects of life. If you're a Gemini, don't be surprised if your attitudes and views shift this week. If you're a Cancer, something in your past might be holding you back. If you're a Leo, you might be indecisive in your love life, which could cost you dearly. If you're a Virgo, authority and you do not mix well this week, thank you, Saturn. If you're a Libra, a sudden event in your love life could be challenging, but stay calm. If you're a Scorpio, personal independence within your relationship becomes important now. If you're a Sagittarius, experiment with alternative belief systems until you find one that feels right. If you are a Capricorn, you're on the right career path. If you're an Aquarian, you are following the crowd. If you're a Pisces, you're discovering the strength to break a bad habit now, and this could transform your life. That's it from me. I'm Kelly Fox, your host and astrologer with the Astrology Show and the Planets this week. Have a great week, and be sure to tune in next week.